Hey everybody, this is Don again. It is time for episode 37 of Practical Reality. It's a Sunday afternoon. I am back in Donaldson Park. I'm sitting in my car because it's kind of noisy here today. A lot of people here today. A lot of picnics going on, a lot of parties, music playing and stuff like that. So I'm sitting in my car trying to be calm and quiet and not letting the background noise get involved in the video. So it's about 1:40 in the afternoon. Normally I'd be home watching football right now, but the Giants don't play until Sunday night game against the Chiefs. Ugh, who knows what's going to happen. My expectations for the Giants have gotten completely squashed over the past few years, so I don't really get that excited about the games anymore. But I'm just hoping they don't get embarrassed on national TV tonight. Let's see what happens. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. Today's subject is integration, and this is something that I think has recently come to my attention, sort of a realization that I had as a result of all of the meetings I've been having with my team. And I think it's a very important subject. And if you remember, the first video that I spoke about regarding your personal evolution, I said that people who are spiritual, consider themselves to be on a spiritual journey. And, that's a very vague statement. It's something you can say just like, oh, yeah, I'm on a spiritual journey. And it doesn't necessarily define anything because there's no necessarily destination that's involved. If you're on a spiritual journey, what's your destination? And integration can be a destination, as far as I'm concerned. Okay? Now, the other aspect that I've talked about in the past few videos is the fact that what you have is what you use on a daily basis to deal with your daily tasks and challenges and control of your internal environment is the CPR. Now, the CPR stands for context, purpose, and results. So I'll give you a quick example. Your context might be calm. You want to approach everything in a state of calm, okay? And the purpose might be to deal with all of the tasks that come to you, that get thrown at you on a daily basis in a calm fashion to achieve the result of handling everything that you need to do without getting off the track, without getting triggered into an irrational state of mind. Now, what happens when you get triggered into that irrational state of mind? You become unconscious. An irrational state of mind is unconscious, and the easiest way to characterize that irrational state is anger. Everyone knows when you get angry, you say things, you do things that you don't really mean to do. And some people have to apologize for it afterwards, this kind of thing. That happens a lot. So that's the easiest way to define what it means to be in an irrational state of mind. The conscious person recognizes that irrational state of mind and realizes that they have been triggered by some circumstance into that irrational state of mind, and then can step back from that and deal with it and come out of that irrational state of mind and return to a conscious state of mind and deal with the situation properly without doing something that you're going to regret. That is a practice. That is something that takes time, that takes work. Especially the older you are, the more difficult it's going to be, because you have years and years and years of subconscious programming that basically controls the way you react to these situations. And that can be your worst enemy. The ego, as we all know, is your worst enemy. It is the status quo. It is the thing in your mind that says you are fine just the way you are. You don't need to change. You don't need to improve. You can stay just the way you are and keep on going through life, and you'll be great. And if you are not living the life that you want to live, if there are certain things that you want to accomplish in life, certain changes you want to make within yourself, then the ego is your worst enemy, because it will stop you. It will try to stop you dead in your tracks from making those changes that you want to make within yourself. So, if you have a CPR, most people take the approach of using the CPR to deal with momentary situations. But using integration can be a great idea to formulate what I would have to term a long-term CPR. You have goals, you have a dream life, you have things that you want to accomplish. How are you going to do them? Using a CPR to deal with momentary challenges that come up is a great idea and is a wonderful approach. But having a long-term CPR that overrides everything that you use on a daily basis to check in on and remind yourself of is really the way, in my opinion, and the way that I choose to approach it, to be able to achieve your goals by overcoming each individual situation, but keeping that long-term goal, that long-term CPR in mind. Okay. Now, that long-term CPR and integration means that you've taken everything that you've learned, meditation, visualization, the books you've read, the people who have influenced you, all of that comes together in a CPR. The context can be something like consciousness. The context can be 24/7 consciousness. Now, we all know that that's a very lofty goal, and because we are all human, we do get knocked off of the path of consciousness, like I said a minute ago, and get pushed into a triggered state that allows us, doesn't allow us, it forces us to be in a situation or in a state of mind that we don't want to be in. So when you use your momentary CPR, if you have the ability, as Joe Dispenza talks about, and one of the teammates, whose name is Holland, that I meet with every week, he's been able to make the formulation of a momentary CPR into a habit, a normal second nature type of reaction. That takes a lot of work. And that, according to Joe Dispenza, is the result of the formation of new neural pathways in your brain. And that can only happen through repetition. And that can only happen through consciousness, the conscious realization that you are in that state of mind and you are not going to let yourself be triggered. And if you do let yourself be triggered, you recognize the fact that you have been triggered and you pull yourself back before you say anything or do anything that you might end up regretting. So that formation of new neural pathways in your brain takes work, takes conscious effort. And if you can do that, you can then formulate a CPR to approach every single day in a state of consciousness, and you will have evolved into a better person. And that should be the goal of everyone. Now, you may have many other goals, but the fact of the matter is, being a better person should be the main goal, because once you are that better person, then everything else you're trying to achieve becomes easier, because you're not fighting yourself, because you've recognized your ego for what it is, for the enemy that it is, and you are more accepting of the world, you are more tolerant, you are peaceful, and you have that inner peace, and you have that control of your internal environment that is so incredibly important if you are going to be able to achieve the goal of consciousness. Now, you are going to be challenged every single day, and you're using your momentary CPRs to be able to overcome the situation without getting triggered. Or again, as I said, recognizing when you have been triggered and then pulling yourself back and not allowing yourself to stay in a triggered state for a long period of time. So achieving the consciousness that the long-term CPR has as your goal is something that can be achieved by the work that you put in. And once you do that, then the necessity for the short-term CPR becomes less and less, because you will not necessarily be in that triggered state, or you will not allow yourself to become triggered by the things, the challenges, the tasks that you face. You will take more of an approach that says, I get to do these things instead of I have to do these things. And that's going to be far more productive and leave you in a far more happy, peaceful state, and allow yourself to maintain control of the internal environment, which is all that you are really capable of controlling. And what is it that you want to do on a daily basis anyway? This is the whole point. What you are trying to do on a daily basis is get through each day, okay? That is an unconscious approach. You're trying to get through each day. You're trying to get to the point where you can sit down and relax at night and say, okay, this day is over, okay? That's the kind of approach that most people take towards their day. They get through each day. Does that mean they're living each day? That's a question. That's a question you have to consider. Are you actually living each day, or are you actually just getting through and going through the motions each day? If you can take the approach of your long-term CPR, that consciousness on a daily basis is your goal, then you can reach the end of your day and say, wow, I was conscious this entire day, and I can't wait for tomorrow because I'm going to be conscious again. And then the days don't run into each other. As most people will tell you, as you get older and older, time seems to go by much more quickly. So the days can flash by and you don't even have the chance to necessarily realize whether or not you're conscious. And that can be the worst thing. So being able to stop and take the time to achieve that state of consciousness and presence and raise your vibrational frequency, that's really the key to the long-term CPR of 24/7 consciousness. And if you can do that, you will be a far happier person. And that's why some people will say the CPR is only used for momentary situations. I say no, the CPR can be used as a long-term approach to life. And if you can do that and make that your goal, then that will be a stepping stone towards personal evolution of peace and joy, and knowing inside of you that you have evolved into a person who doesn't get run over by life, doesn't watch each day flash by without any sort of like realization of who you are and what you are. And that is a very admirable goal that I think everyone can pursue and can achieve. And at this point then, I wish all of you luck. Have a great day, prosperous day. Like, comment, and subscribe. I welcome comments from anybody and a discussion with anyone on this subject. Take care, prosperous and peaceful day.